that has control over it. You, your own as a developer, is to understand the structure of the API, the flow of the API. And then from there, you'll be able to, by using all the things you know of in that programming language you are using, by taking advantage of them to pick the areas or aspect of that API that you need and work with it. So let's look at another public API. Let's just find examples of public API and then just pick one and then use it to get a particular information we need, right? So let's see, several free public API. So let's look at this one. So let's just pick another one so that it will not be as though we are doing the same thing. Open map API. Okay, respond is a service. I think we have looked at this one. Okay. Okay. So let's look at this IP API. Let me see if we can get some couple of informations from it. Okay, this one looks for IP address. Okay. Open weather. Okay. Let's okay. This one is not free. Oh. The API is not free. But let's just this one. Okay, let's just use what we used in the morning. All right. Let's just use it. I guess there's no crime. I will undo, then pick the API from here. And then we'll start afresh. All right. So first of all, we wanted to get the list of countries, all right, from a public API, and then we're able to identify this API as an API that is going to give us the list of all the countries, all right. And then looking at this API now, if we go to our browser and then we visit the API from our browser, you see this. Let me first use browser. Now, your browser can access any API. Put it at the back of your mind. You understand? It's just that your browser as it is can always access the get part of the API. You know what get is? I've explained it here that get is when you are retrieving information from a particular API. So, but your browser cannot post directly as it is like this. Your browser cannot do anything about post. But by default, once you put an API, just like how fetch too, by default, fetch gets. That's how your browser too is. So you can see this is the API we are trying to get of countries. And then look at the structure of the API. You can see that it started with status being okay, which in case here the key is status, the value is okay. Here the key is status code and the value is 200. Here the key is version and the value is 1.0. Here the key is access and the value is public. So if we go on and on, then if you come to this one, you can now see data. Then inside of this data, that's when we now start having our countries. But unfortunately, we don't even have the countries directly, right? It's more like the way this one is, right? It's more like we have an object from the API like this. Let's say this is the API. Just for sake of example, this is the API object, right? Then inside the API object, we now have these ones. You see the structure, status. Let me just copy this first three. You understand? Let me just copy this first three so that we'll look at it way. We now have these ones inside. Then same inside this API, we now have another object. But this time around, the object was now named data. Right? Look at it here. Look at it. Total of that, we now reach data. Data is now an object of another object. And inside this data, we now have something of this nature. I'll just copy for this 3. Yes. Okay. Let me not copy. Let me remove these 2. So look at the structure. Are you seeing the structure? The API. Inside the API, we have some other things. Going status code, version. Then we now have data. This is inside the main object of the API. Then inside the data object, which is this, that's when we now have this one called the country code, right? Now, inside the country code, we now still have another object, which in this case, that is where we can now find the country and the region where the country is. So it means normally for we to be able to access country here, we need to go several steps inside our object to be able to access this country. Now, what are the several steps we need to go? First of all, we need to first go through our main API, which is the main object. Now, inside our API, we need to go inside data. We don't need status, we don't need status code, we don't need version, because all of them are not carrying what we want. Status is carrying OK. OK is not what we are looking for. Status code is carrying 200. 200 is not what we are looking for. Version is carrying 1.0. That's not what we are looking for. Now, data is carrying DZ. Actually, it's not DZ we are looking for, but DZ is carrying country, which is what we are looking for. So what does that mean? It means from API, we need to access data. Now, of course, if you are accessing any key from your object, you need to always use dot. So from API, I will access data by using dot data. Of course, it's not only dot you can use. You can also use this one. Hope we have not forgotten about this. May not be say we don't go favor one above another. So you can also use this, but just that dot notation now is much more easier. So dot data. So you can see from this one, we are now accessing what is here. So by saying API.data, we are accessing the data part of the API. And that's why you can see it here. Look at the result here. So the data part of the API has DZ and everything here under DZ. Now, what we are interested in is not DZ, because that's not what our target is. Our target are the countries. So it means to access DZ, what DZ is carrying, which is country and region, we just need to come here and add dot, capital letter DZ. You have to be conscious of the spelling. So now, by accessing DZ now, we'll be able to get the values of DZ, which are what? Object with country and region. So now, what we need is the country. We don't need the region. We need name of the country. So it means we need to access country too. So we can now go ahead and put dot country. Now we have gotten the name of our country. So it means for we to be able to use this API, we have to access, to get all the names of our country, we have to access it using this kind of structure. Now, if you use another API, it might be different. In fact, it will be different. So let me see if I can get another API of something like this. So I think there was one we first got, but just that one, the information it was having was just too much. And that's why we just decided to leave it. And so let me see if we can get another API. These are just showing a list of countries. I say, Mona, give me API, now they give me the countries themselves. Okay, let me see overview. Oh, this is Open API. No. This is not what we need, please. Let's check this out. Okay. Is this the same API we are using here? API, no, it's not. It's different. So let's look at this API, all right? So this is the API. So let's visit it and see. Error, unauthorized. Okay. That means this one is probably paid. Request API key. So this one is actually paid. You know, I told you guys about, okay, how much time. Once your API request is approved, you receive an email with API key. Note, ideal time to receive API keys within a day or two. So we can't go on. You know, there's one thing I mentioned about authorization, authentication, right? So in this case, without this API key, we'll not be able to use this API, right? So let's just forget about this one. It's a shame. Okay, this one is football score. So how many of you are playing football here? If we analyze this,
Watch are the watch you.
okay, you dey watch, okay. So, okay, so let's look at is this one a dictionary API? Login to use API. It means we can't use this API too. But let me try and see if it's going to work. So this one too would work. We need authorization. These people are not joking, no.
Let's also continue with that one.
Let's continue that, but
Because I will soon
okay,
go play like this.
okay, no problem. This one still will ask for keys. So country data API, it is well. Okay, so let's just continue this one. So now the API, just like I've always said, how we are going to handle it will depend on what is obtainable, right? There are times that you might need to handle it in a different manner. For instance, let's say that under all these things, under data, right? Immediately under data, what we have is an array, not an object. So let's say what we have here is something like this. I hope, okay. So imagine what we have, because just like I said, it all depends on the owner, right? It all depends on the owner, what he wants. So, no, sorry. This is where I should replace the array. Or am I mistaking something? Object. What is this saying misbehaving? What is it saying? Country did not expect a type annotation. Type annotation. This is this, and this is this. This thing is just funny. Okay, let me try it here and see if it's going to work. Type annotation. So this thing doesn't want to work. Let me take it back. So,
or is it that it doesn't want to work with object and arrays within
array.
object?
It's not supposed to. It's because, okay, let me try something. Let's add another key here and see. Let's just say names. All right, let's add another key here and see. So we have I think that probably okay, I think it doesn't want to. It should work. So that's why I'm surprised. It's supposed to work. So okay. I know the reason why. Right? So if I'm now, I think I can now turn it back to.
Hello.
Hello.
Gideon, can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't think it's going to work because arrays don't allow
Key,
key value pairs handling.
yeah, that's true. So I just remember
Yeah, it
now.
should
Don't
work
mind
like
me.
this.
So now, let's say now the owner of your array of your API, he decided that under each of the countries code DZ, what you are going to have is the country, right, and the continent. But it's going to do it in such a way the country and continent will be in form of array, just like what we have here. and not in form of object. So in that case, if you are to handle that kind of one, it means, of course, API, to get to data, we have API.data. To get to DZ, because DZ is still an object, right? Look at it, it's still inside of an object. So to get to DZ from data, we still have data.dz. But to get to the country now, if you look at country and continent are in form of array, not object. So in that case, we can no longer use dot to access it. Instead, to access it, if this one is an array now, you should know that the first element here will be at index 0. And the second element here should be at index 1. So to get the country now, we are going to access it at index 0. So it all depends on just the structure. If it's an object, handle it like an object. If it's an array, you handle it like an array. So that is for this. So here now, of course, we have our array, our API URL, right? And we said the API URL is this. Put it inside a string. So next, we need to create a function, right? And what I want that function to do is to help us get these countries, a list of the countries. So to get this list of countries, of course, we use an async function. And we can name it get countries. At least let's make it descriptive. And this get countries, we take in a URL, an API URL. All right. Now, of course, since we are dealing with API here, we need to make use of our fetch. So we'll have, and since we are using our fetch, we need a response from fetch. And since fetch is a promise, it returns promise, right? A promise. So we need to await it because it's only a promise. It's only a method, a function, or anything returning a promise that you can await. So we await it. So we are waiting fetch, and then we pass in our URL endpoint. All right. Now this response, if we console.log it, now let's call the function.
Since we are using async, shouldn't we just put it in the try and catch it?
Beautiful. I like the you people have started thinking. You see me, I've forgotten again. So try and then catch. I don't know whether he's which. Okay, try and catch it here. So let's. Thank you for that. So here now, because this is how I actually build stuffs. As I build, I test. So that it will not be as if it's after I've written 50 or 100 lines, I'll now find out that something is not working. So now, what we have just done here is to see that we are getting the information from this API. So let's test it. Now, how do we test it? But of course, calling our function and then passing in our URL, API URL. So, okay. So of course, we are getting our response here. We are getting a response. Look at it here. We are getting a response. So it means that this response is like working. All right. So after this, we need to await the response to get the data from the response. So how are we going to do that? Of course, const data in this case equal to, we also need to await the response because the data is in the response. So we need to await the response. But in this case, remember how I was explaining JSON string and JSON object, all right? From the database, we are getting a JSON string. Now we need it inside of our JavaScript code. So we need to convert it to a JSON object. So we use .json for that. So now let's go ahead and console.log data. So you can see the data here. The exact same thing we have here. The exact same thing we have here. You can see it. You can see it here. So, but just say what we need is this data part of it. So for that, I'll create another variable and say const index, or should I say countries index. Should I say index or short name? Okay, let me just use short name. Short name. So for each of the countries name, we can access it from inside of. Now this is data. This is data here. This is our data. That's this part or everything here. Now to access each of these countries short name, because inside of each of the countries short name, that's when you see the full country name is inside data. So to access it, we need data dot. That's the data part of this data. Now we are bringing in data. So if we console.log that short name, let's see what we are going to have. You can now see that the only thing we have is the short names of all the countries. You can see DZ, AO, BJ. So from what we have here, to get the country name, everything at once, that's where we need to loop. That's where looping comes in. And how do we need to loop? We need to loop because each of these ones are different. Look at it. They are different. So we need to find a way that we are going to be going into them one after the other. And as we are going into them, we are assessing the country part of it. Because it's the country part of all of them. Look at it. Country, 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 country. So how do we go about that? We now remember that everything we have here are objects. And each of these ones, each of the short name, DZ, AO, BJ, they are all keys. And the countries are inside the values of each of these ones. So we now say, okay, if we are looping up through all these things, we need to loop through. And as we are looping through, we'll loop through and be getting each of them their values. So from there, it will be easier for us to get the country itself. So we now say, okay. Now, how do we loop? Of course, we can use while loop if you want, but in this case, to make it easier to loop through object, it's best to use for off. You can also use for each. You remember although for each is an array method, shall, so I don't know if it's going to work here, but for off is very easy to use. So for off, how you use for off is that you have your for, then let I. You can name it anything. It mustn't be I. In fact, I can say let's see. Of what? Now, short name here is an object. We have already seen it as an object. But that short name, what we need from the short name is the value of the short name. The value is carrying and not the short name itself. So in object, there's a way you can get the value of a key. And how do you get the value of a key? You use the method object dot what? Values. We don't need the key itself. We need the value of if it was the keys we need, then we would have used the method object.keys, but it's the values we need. So object.values, and then we pass into it the object whose values we want to get. So the values of what? We want to get the values of the short name object. And then after that, what do we want to do? Now, let's now console.log those values, because the values now will be this C, each and every one of them. What is happening here, this for let, is that the for now, it will start from the first one. It will now pick the value of the short name of this. It will display it, go to the next one, do the same, go to the next one until it gets to the last one. So that's why you can see here, everything we are having here. Let me go to the very beginning. Everything we are having here, you can see this is the value of each of the short name of those countries. You can see country, region, country, region, country, region. So to now get the country itself from what we have here, because this is all these single ones, individual ones, they are this C here. So to get the country itself, of course, you can see that the country itself is also an object, is a key. So to get the value itself, we just need to add dot and then call the key, which in this case is our country. And then from there, you can see we'll be able to get the names of all of the countries individually. So do you understand it now? So if I I believe you now understand it.
Very well. Very well. Very well.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Bye. I think I'm going now.
Okay, no problem. So any question from any other person? So just like I said, it all depends on the structure of the API. That's how you are going to deal with it. Yeah. So any question before we proceed? So I wanted to ask, I can see that we don't have any new face here. Yes, all of us were present in the morning class. So sorry, the person that's supposed to take you guys this evening had something, they have something urgent to attend to, and that's why it was very urgent. It was just this afternoon they told me if I could cover up, and I said okay, no problem, since I'm a little bit free this afternoon. So I don't know, since I guess we started from the very first class, right? And now we are almost in the final class. So I wanted to ask, is there anything probably you people are, maybe you want me to go to, you want us to like come over again from the very from what we've treated so far, from the very first class down to this time? So is there anything probably you want us to treat?
Yes, me, I actually will speak for myself.
Okay.
I think everything has been amazing, but I still have gray areas on some particular concepts. Like, it will surprise you to know that 4 in and 4 off, like it was just yesterday.
For off.
I've been trying to do
Yes.
them, it's working, but yes, but
Yes.
understanding it inside the class today, that I got to understand, okay, look at how it is and all. But I have issues with, not issues per se, if we can go through
Okay.
modules, classes,
Okay.
and then this in this async, these callbacks
Yes.
and promises.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
during the quiz, when I was answering the quiz, I saw when they work with promise.all method with functions and async functions.
Okay.
Then they told us the key difference between promise.all and promise race, if I'm correct. So those are things that we did not do much. And then if
Okay.
you can do it, promise race, promise all, how we can nest those um, callback functions that will actually
Okay.
lead us to what we call, is it callback help? So
Okay, come back here. I did not cover, that's true. Why I did not cover all those areas is that it's not, since we are using the async and await, right? The model
yes, yes,
method,
yes.
there's no really point of
Points.
understanding
Okay.
or knowing, you understand? So that's why
Deep.
you see I did not
Yes.
even made mention, because it's not necessary.
But if
Even me,
that's
I
the
did not.
case, if that's the
Yes,
case, then this
yes,
async and await
right.
is cool, and
And
I know
await.
it, and I know how
Okay.
to. Yeah. Maybe
So
that one I
that's
can
that's
just go
not
back and do it for my personal
from your
stuff. So
personal
yeah.
stress. Okay.
Mm.
So you say we should go over modules, right?
Yes, modules and
That's
classes.
classes and modules.
Yes,
Am I right?
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's, this one we have to make use of code. Yes. VS Code, sorry, not code. Actually, that's the name of the package, code. That's why I can open it by just typing code. So let's see. Okay. I think we have something under modules. Okay, let me just, so mkdir, let me just say project underscore 3. Yeah. So cd3, right? And then let me open it right away. Okay. Sorry, I mean, All right. Beautiful. So let's open the material modules. That should be, if I'm not mistaken, advanced ES features. I'm not sure, but yeah, beautiful. So we'll just go straight to the modules aspect. Good. So I believe we're all seeing the screen, right? You all see my screen. All right. So we say modules in JavaScript are a way, right? Sorry. Let me sign on this thing. Okay. So modules in JavaScript are a way to organize and encapsulate code, making it easier to manage, reuse, and maintain. Okay. It should be maintain code, obviously. Modules allows you. Okay. All right. So modules allows you to split your code into separate files, each with its own scope, and import only what you need from those files into other part of your application. This approach helps prevent global scope pollution and enables the creation of more structured and scalable applications. Modules provide several benefits. For instance, encapsulation. Encapsulation simply means you only get what you need. Code reusability, it means you can just declare a code in one file and then import it in different places and make use of it. So let's say you need that same code in another place, you don't need to recode it again. What you just need to do is to import that file in that particular place where you want to use it and reuse it. So maintainability is simply you'll be able to maintain the code. If anybody is coming, let's say probably you stopped working there or you got another work and you left the people. If another developer is coming to manage that code, he will understand where this one is, where that one is. Not that he will now have everything jam packed in a file and he will start looking at where is this one, where is that one. So it's easier to manage and even easy to debug. Even an error, if you're having an error, it will be easier for you to know where the error is coming from. So, and then lazy loading. So this lazy loading simply means you don't need to load everything at once. At every point in time in your program, you're only loading what you need. So as a result of that, your program should be faster. Because imagine you are working with 10,000 files. It's not all the whole time you need those 10,000 files. So what modules help you to do is to organize it in such a way, if at a point out of that 10,000, what you need is just 100, is that 100 that you have. So that is modules for you. So module syntax. Now, if you are talking about modules in ES6, you are simply just talking about importing and exporting. So you can see the JavaScript modules can be created using ES6 module syntax, which is the modern standardized way to handle modules in JavaScript. So it says here are the main concept. One, we have exporting. Say modules can export part of their code to be used by other modules. Of course, if you have part of your code that you want other code outside to be able to use it, you have to export it. By exporting it, you are making it available for use outside of where that code has been defined. Why importing? If you want to use any code that have been exported, you have to first of all import it before you'll be able to use it. But before you even import it, you have to make sure that particular thing you're importing has been exported. So you say other modules can then import these exported parts and use them in their own scope. So take note of it. Now, exporting from a module. So here they are talking about exporting, right? So to make a function, object, or variable, because you can export anything, function or variable, method or class, or you can export anything. So to make functions, objects, or variables available outside a module, you use the export keyword. So you have named export. So name export is something like this. With name export, you can export multiple items from a module. They must be imported by their exact name. So what this one is trying to say is that you can be exporting them. You see, instead of just const pi, we're having export const pi. So it means we are exporting pi. So pi should be available in other part of the code for use in other part of the code. So this function too, instead of having just function add, we are exporting function. So it means function add itself as a function should be available for use outside of this particular file. And then default export allow you to export a single value from a module. So if like I have a file and I just want to export just one particular thing from that file, that's when I will now use export default. You have to add this keyword here, default. So it means that's the only thing you are trying to export there. So default export allows you to export a single value from a module. When importing, you can give the imported value any name. Are you seeing the difference between default and normal export? Normal export now, you have to import it with that same name if you're importing it. Default export now, in the process of importing it, you can give it any name of your choice. All right. So importing from module. Now, these are the different ways of importing from module. You can import it as it is from the file, or you import it as another name from the file. Maybe that particular file now, or like this one now, they are importing and, but they are renaming it to some. Maybe that particular file now, they are importing add. There's an add, there's something called add already existing in that particular scope, in that particular file. So for them not to have conflict, name conflict, so they have to now import it as another thing. You understand? So that's where this particular one comes from. And then importing default export. So you can see import grid from. So you see that what is being exported here, is it grid? Okay, yes, it's grid. So of course, and here they are importing it from here. So by just importing this one, of course, that is the only thing that is being exported here. Export default by default. So by doing this now, it means we are really importing the function grid. And then this one, by using this asterisk now, is a situation where you are importing, you want to import everything from a particular file. For instance, this math.js file now, it has pi, it has the function add. If you want to import both the pi and the add function all at once, you can use this asterisk. So this asterisk now, we have to import everything. All right. There's a name they call it wildcard. They call it wildcard. I don't know if it's card or cat. You people can go and search. They call it wild card. Is it card or cat? I think it's wild card. Wild card. So okay, so that's importing for you. So importing and exporting objects and functions inline. If you want, you can export values directly as you declare them. Of course, we have looked at this one here, exporting directly, and then or import them at the or export them at the end. So either you export them as you are declaring them, or after you must have finished declaring everything, you now come under them, underneath, and now export it as a whole like this. So it all depends on your choice, what you want. All right. So module features in the browser. For modules to work in the browser, you need to set. So now, we have, of course, we'll create files now and start looking at modules. All right. So now for you to be able to work with modules, you need to indicate the type as a module inside of your script. If you don't do that, your browser cannot recognize it as a module. We would have worked modules with this, but just that this one does not really support something like that. That's just the problem. I don't think if we export anything here, we'll be able to use it here. But anyways, let me try it and see. So let me say, let me export this one. I'm not sure it will work, but anyways, import API URL. You see, so I don't even think this one supports import. I don't think he does. Yeah. Could not resolve this. I don't think it supports it. So that's why we have to use our browser. Understand? So let me just close this tab. So let's head down to our VS Code. Of course, here we'll create our index.html file, and then of course the this thing, and here we'll name it modules, and here link our CSS, although I'm not using any style here. Sorry for that. Yeah, that's the next one, script. So you can here you can even see once I put script, you can see module. You understand? We need it as a module. Then the src, let's say app.js. All right. So here I'm going to create style.css, and then finally our app.js. So coming back and look at, that's why I created app.js, because the JavaScript file I want to make use of is actually app.js. I've made the type to be module. So this body now, let me just give it an h1, say my module, right? So now we have this here already. So we can decide to say we want to create, let's just create a simple calculator application. All right. I hope my screen is big enough. Is it big enough? All right. Aisha, you're welcome. So was Aisha around in the morning? Aisha, are you around in the morning? Or were you around in the morning?
Yes, I was.
Okay, no problem. So the reason why you see we are going back is that since I said all of us were present in the morning, so there's no point of going over what we have done if we understand the morning class. So what we are doing is a kind of revision. If there's any area you are still facing challenge, then you bring it up, then we see how we can just resolve the whole issue and all of that. So after this one, if you have any issue, maybe any area you want us to treat, you can just voice it out. So anybody. So that's just what we are doing. It's a kind of revision something. All right. So now we can say, okay, we want to build a calculator app, and we want it in such a way our calculations, that's the functions that will be calculating for us, we want it to be in another file. We don't want it to be inside this app.js. This app.js, we just want this app.js now, its work is just to be calling those functions. All right, that's what we really want. We want it to be that his work is just to be calling functions. So in that case, we can create a folder. It depends on how you want to do it. You can still create the app.js, the other files still same here if you want to. You understand? But me here, I want to create a folder for it, and then I'll call this folder calculator. All right. So inside this folder calculator now, I'm now going to have and I'll now start creating all my files that I'll be using. So inside this calculator, I'm going to have add.js. Under calculator, I'll still create another file, subtract.js. Under calculator, I'll still have multiply.js. And then I'll have my divide.js. So you can see what I'm doing. What am I doing? I'm separating each of the logic into their own separate files, right? So by mere looking at this, if somebody should come to this project and look at this, my project, by looking at it, the person should understand that anything inside this folder should be about calculator. Once he opens it and he see add, it will occur to him that if I should open this file, everything inside should just be about add. If I should open this one, everything inside should just be about divide. This one, it should be about multiply, it should be about subtract, and all of that. So now, inside this add now, of course, I'll come here, and then I will say We say everything about add. But here now, I want us to make use of can we use try and catch? Can we do that? Okay. So let's say I want function, and then this function, I'm going to name the function add two. We are going to create for each of these files, we'll create two functions, add two and add three. We can even decide to say add using REST operator and add multiple self if we want. So but let's do it add two and add three. So I have two variables A and B, right? And what I want is it for it to return the A plus B. That's what I want it to do. So for the add two. Then also I'm going to do for the add three. So I'll have A, B, and C, and I'm returning this. Now, if you remember, when we are talking about import and export, we say you can either export directly like this, or you can first do everything you want to do here. And then at the very end, you now come and export it like this. So why are we exporting our function add2 and add3? We are exporting it because that we want to make use of it inside of this our app.js file. We don't want to use it inside this particular add file. This add file, we just want it to hold the function for us. This is actually where we want to use it. And since we are using it outside of this, we have to make it available to the outside. And making it available to the outside, we need to export this. So this add you are seeing here is a module. This divide is a module. This multiply is a module. Subtract is a module. App.js itself is a module. So take note. Now, the next one is our divide. Now, for our divide, of course, we have function divide. Let's say divide 2, right? Now, this divide, I want us to use try and catch, right? So we'll use try and then catch. Now, in this catch, which error do we want it to catch? We'll check if the second number is equal to 0. That's this B. Because you know, if you do any number divide by 0, it will not give you an answer. We can even try it here. Sorry. So if you say 35 divide by 0, look at cannot divide by 0. So any number divided by 0 is not possible. So we want it in such a way that if once this B, that's the denominator, this one is 0, it should throw an error to tell us that I cannot divide this by 0. And then this catch will not be the one to catch this our error and display it for us. So that is the only thing we need for this divide 2. That's why I say I'm bringing in this one here. All right. So divide 2, and then we can create another function and use divide 3. All right. So of course, this one too, we have to do something like that. So we say, if B, of course, we already know what this one is. From here, let's use the try and catch. Let me cut this one and then bring in my try. Of course. So, of course, we know this one already. Using this, our OR, you know, the OR operator, part of our first class. So, we are now saying if this B or if the C is 0, it should just throw this error for us. Cannot divide by 0. Else, it should do the division and then immediately return the value for us. So that's for divide. So to export this one, you see the way we exported this. We first declared them before exporting them. Now for this one, I want us to export them individually. So export, and then we'll come to that of this and also put export. So you can see I exported them as they are. Now multiply. Of course, we have. So here we have function, of course, multiply 2, all right? And then multiply does not have any downside. So now we have this, Of course, for multiply, is there any edge case? Do we need to treat anything as an edge case? I don't think we need to. All right. So here, I'll just come here and export the two of them. All right. So that's for this. Then for subtract now it depends. We can decide to say we don't want to get a negative value. Let's say it's money. Let's say this calculator now is calculator for money. And since it's calculator for money, we don't want anything that have to do with negative. And that's why the fact that it's not bad, but we don't want anything to have negative side. So we can decide to go and say function subtract, right? And then here, instead of having this, first we'll do our check. Try. Now, what are we trying? Right? We'll try that if our B is greater than our A, right? We are telling it to throw an error that we cannot subtract A from B, because if B is greater than A, it means we must have a negative value. And that is not what we want. You understand? Now, if we want to even make it more robust, right? We can say that if this is this, throw this, it cannot. We cannot check again and say else if. Remember our else if. If A minus B is equal to 0, then it should throw us that not cannot subtract 0, but we can just say balance cannot be 0. Let's say the account we are doing this for is an account that you can't empty. You know, there are some accounts you can't empty, and there's some account that you need at least 200 naira to still be inside, or at least some banks even say 1,000 naira. And once it's 1,000, you can't withdraw it. So let's say that's what we are writing this one for, that your account can be 2 naira, but it can never be 0. So in that case, we have to check first that if A minus B is actually 0, we should also throw an error. And now here we'll catch our error. We'll catch that error here that is going to throw and console log it. So that's for subtract. Of course, here, let's just export it. Let's even export it as default. So we are exporting, actually that's the only function inside of here. So we'll export default. Now, what we have been doing here is export, 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 and export. Now, app, just like I said, this is where I want us to make use of everything here. So it means the first thing we need to do is to start importing. Now, inside add, we have add 2 and add 3. So to import it from inside here, we'll now put import. We are importing add 2 and add 3. To import plenty things at the same time, you have to make use of this bracket. If it were only one thing we want to import now, all right, we can omit this one. We'll have just this. But since we are bringing in 2 things, it has to be inside this curly bracket. So add 2, add 3. Now, where are we adding it? We are adding it from, so you need to check. All right. From here, look at what we have. From this app, we are importing. But for we to be able to get to the file carrying these 2, we need to enter inside our calculator from this particular position we are. So it means you are importing it from /, we need to enter into calculator. Then inside calculator, we now have add/add. So it does not matter if you like this add, you can add just like how it appears here, add.js. You can decide to add it here if you want to. But in this case, it's not necessary because it's already a module. So for that, by calling it by the name is enough already. So we have imported these 2 functions inside from this place. Next, we want to import from this divide. And this divide, we have 2 functions. Now, if we like to import everything, we can use the asterisk. So we'll say import this. right? So you can see that this now we are importing is more like we are saying we are importing everything. But we have to import, if you are importing using this asterisk, it will import everything, but you have to give it a general name, a name that all of them can be accessible with. So I can now say import asterisk as mol. I'll just use mol. From what? Of course, first of all, we need to get into our calculator. So calculator. Then inside our calculator, we need to get into our module, multiply. So that is for the multiply. Now, we also need, see me, we even join divide. We jump divide to multiply. Imagine, justice for divide. So divide too, we can come and then we import. If we like, we can import using asterisk too. If we like, we can just use this one, import our divide 2 and divide 3 from the module. And then the last one we are having, which is subtract. So we import, of course, remember for the subtract, we are exporting just one. It's just one function we have. And we are even exporting it as default. So we'll import it. We are importing, is it subtract? I think that is subtract, the name of this thing. Yes, it's subtract. So we are importing subtract from what? From, of course, our calculator, from our calculator, inside our calculator, then our subtract. So this is how you import these files. Now, let's say we want to make use of our add to. So how do we go about it? Now, we'll just come here and we'll call the function, right? Let's say const sum, right? Add 2. And this add to want to add 5 and let's say 18, isn't it? And then want to console.log the answer. Of course, we have not incorporated anything to our front end. All right. So this is for sum. In fact, let's name it. Let me use this tilde. So, and then sum. So that we'll know that is our sum. So of course, I'm going to go live. This is supposed to open now. Okay, 5500. No problem. So let me see. 127 5500. Yes, beautiful. So now, right, you guys see what I just did. Let me just give a brief explanation of that. Now what I just did here, let me increase the this thing. So what I just did here, right, because it's not, I don't know why it's not opening directly. So anytime you are opening your code from your VS Code, is actually loading through your local server. Now this one you are seeing here, 127.0.0.1 is your local server, your local host, right? If you like, instead of this 127 blah blah, you can just put local host like this. It will still give you the same result. Is your local host. So now what you will check is the port at which that host is running. You can see here it's running at port 5500. It means if I mistakenly come and change this port from 5500, let's say to 5000, it will not work. You see, it will not work. But from here, it's telling us that it's actually in the directing it to the local server at this port 5500. So once I come here and I use 5500, it will come up. So in case you do it, go live, and then you see that it did not redirect you, because most of the times it does the redirection automatically. But in a situation where it did not, you can just use this to assess what you want. So let's just go ahead and inspect, because if you look at what we are doing here from our code, where is it? We actually console logging, right? So let's check. Here's our console. Good. These are console. Now let me refresh. Why is this not showing? Hey, removing unpermitted. Let's go back to our code. What are we not doing correctly here? console.log. Where is our HTML? Of course, we said the source to the app.js and type module. Okay. Far. I don't know if it will make any difference, but that's serious. So, hey, what's happening there? Eh? This is supposed to work. Oh. Sorry. Here's our code. App.js. Add. Export. Yes. We are importing what we've exported, and then we are using one of it. Add two, and then we are console logging. And so what is now happening? Okay, let me see. Console.log testing. So let's see. I hope it's not my Windows that's having issues. Okay, permit me to. Hey, let me open it again. And then let me go live. 5500. So the same thing. Not found. Not found. Not found. Something is wrong. Because here it's telling me that it can't find it here. So that's why I see it's not working. Look at it's telling me that it can't find it. Slash calculator slash add slash divide slash multiply. Okay. Let's see. Let me take this thing back. So let's see. Okay. Yes. So let me see if we can access our document. So const header. So document dot query selector h1. All right. Let me just see if we can access the header itself, right? So let me see if we can access it. Then I think we'll just use even the header is not accessible. It's not accessible. What's now the problem? What's now the problem? Hi, what's now the? Let me see. That means it's not connected. So can you guys give me some minutes? Let me switch back to Linux. Okay. So please just give me few minutes, like 5 minutes. Let me just switch back to Linux. If not, we will not be able to achieve what we want to do today. Show me something login field. Hello? Are you guys hearing me? Okay. So I'm restarting the system now. I'm booting back to Linux. Sorry. Just give me a little bit of time. But Jethro, so far, I hope like you have gotten the concept of the modules, importing, exporting.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So I just
So
want us to
now, what
practicalize.
what what
Okay.
it means is that
Yes.
um, in this app.js, in which we are importing our modules from multiply,
Yes. Yes.
add, and now the aim is to make the app.js, which is the main JavaScript file, to be cleaner, and then to
Yes.
avoid. And so, but when we were doing, why I'm bringing this, is it only for readability, maintainability, and reusability, or is there
Yes.
anything outside of that we import? Because I remember when we were doing, is it SCSS and block element modifier, they said
Yes.
the reasons why in those places we have mixins, variables, and all. And they told us that when we
Yes.
come to JavaScript, we would actually discuss more. So, but one of the reasons why they do it in CSS is because there
Yes.
is what we call, is it compiler or is it transpiler, that
Mm-hmm.
goes and is it converts what SCSS is to our custom CSS, so
Custom
that,
CSS
yes, so that we will not have a choke of codes in that
codes.
particular file. So, is there any background function that these modules are doing, or it is just for this reusability, maintainability, and whatsoever? Is there anything like that?
Okay. So for that, for this particular one you are talking about, all right, in JavaScript is purely for mutability, reusability, and just like I said, it also makes your code cleaner and then also faster in execution. All right, because when you are talking now, just like how we too, like let's say your phone, you have limited storage, and then somebody has a movie you want to collect. I be like, guy, how much be the wetin be the size of the movie? Now say 2 gig. Say, guy, 2 gig too much now. Why you go download high quality? Yeah, they look for that kind 1 gig. You understand? So now by using by defining every single code you want to use in that particular file you want to use, you are making the file of your code larger. And the more larger your file is, the more work you are giving the browser. Because browser too transpile your code. Hope you know, transpile your code. Browser has what they call WebAssembly. So it transpiles JavaScript to what they call WebAssembly. You understand? So, but if you can find a way to manage your code in such a way, the code that let's say one piece of code that you will likely use 10 different places, you can just define it in a single file. And once you define it in that single file, any other place you want to make use of it is just to import and then make use of it. So that's one advantage. And then the ultimate advantage of these modules, where you see its use in real action, is the next thing you people are entering into, which is React. That's when you now see how useful this issue of modules is, right? And okay, I don't think you guys will do backend. You would have also seen how useful it is in Node.js. So that is the whole thing, because like just like your CSS compiles to SCSS compiles to CSS, that's how your React too compiles to pure JavaScript and HTML and then CSS. But I'm even really happy that you guys will start React, because React makes a lot of things very, very direct and easy to work with. I don't know if you guys understand. Okay, so my Linux is on, so I just want to open the browser now and then access the link from there. So don't mind Windows Wahala. So are you guys hearing me now? Am I okay? All right. So I'm now on my Linux. So let me share my screen. Sorry for it is there. Hey, sorry for the time I took. So we should have a more smoother experience now, right? So mm, let me see. All right. CD file. Uh, okay. Hey, see me, oh, I forgot to do something. I forgot to push the code we are the code we have coded. I was supposed to push it so that I'll be able to clone it here. Ah, this is serious. No problem. Let's just quickly do what we can here. Okay, beautiful. Ah, mhm. So here we have a okay. So what do we have? Modules. Sorry. modules, and then of course h1 calculator module, right? So sorry. Okay. All right. Calculator module, and then here I'll create file.css. Of course, here I'm going to bring in my link, CSS link, yes. And then also I'm going to bring in my script, at my module script, and then I'm going to define, use it. So now I will not create it inside here, just like I said that you can do it like different ways. So I'm not creating it here. Instead, I'll come here and then I'll create a new folder, and then I'll call this one calculator, right? Then inside this calculator, that's when I'll now create, my app.js. So I just wanted to have a different feel of how you want this thing to look like. It all depends on what you want to do. So you can see my app.js is actually inside the app, the calculator folder. So it means that here, to pick it up from here, I need to start picking it up from the calculator itself. Then inside calculator, I'm now picking up my app.js, because the app.js is inside this calculator. And then inside this calculator, I'll create another folder, and I'll name this folder operations. So under these operations now, that's when I'll now have my sum or my add.js, and then I'll just do this one quickly. Just have two, A and B, so that we have wasted time already, so that we'll not waste time. So export add. Okay, let me use this. Export add, and then I'll have my subtract.js, and then this subtract.js will have what are we having here? We have export. Let me just export it directly. Function subtract, and then subtract, and then I'm returning this, and then of course I have another one, divide.js, to export function divide. Of course I'm having this, and then finally multiply.js. So export function multiply. Of course I'm having this. So any other thing again that we're supposed to do? Okay, so I'm coming. Give me some. Okay, so sorry for the break in transmission. All right, so let's continue. So we have this now. Of course, here we can now come and import everything here. So I'll start by importing import add from, of course, from. Now, if I'm importing add now, I have to first go inside this folder because my app.js is already inside the calculator folder. It's not outside of it. So already this add is inside calculator. So for me to get to this add from this app.js, I have to first enter into these operations. Then inside operations, I will now enter into the add. So the same thing too for all of them, like this. Now, the next thing we'll do is we want to add now. Let's test our add function. So, and let's console log it. So from here, right? From here, I'm going to go live. And then let me inspect and then go to my console. So what am I having? Why is it that as if I'm having the same behavior? Okay. So let me see. First, let me say DOM equal to document.get element by. Let's see. Get element. Okay, query. Let's use query selector. So that will select H1. Query selector. And then that's selecting H1. All right. H1. That's the tag name now. And then, of course, I want to get the text content. So I'll change the text content to, let's say, results. Let's see if it's going to work. H1. Does this H1 needs to be inside something like this? Yes, I think so. All right, so let's check. Okay, we are not having anything here. So what is happening? Are we not doing anything correctly here? What are we not doing correctly? So is there any issue with what we have done so far? Somebody should please look at this thing. This all of you are just quiet. Eh? Somebody should look at this thing.
I've seen it in both.
Hmm?
What's the question? I didn't get it.
So I don't know. This thing is supposed to work, but from what I'm seeing here, it's not.
I'm only seeing the HTML part.
Okay, the HTML part, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing the JavaScript side.
No, I'm surprised. Let me check because we have done something like this before. All right. So let me see what we did and how it worked. Hello.
Okay. I think
Papa.
the JavaScript file.
Hello, you
I don't
hear
hear
me?
me. From my voice.
Mona Noves. So like, I think Rufai, you were saying something. All right. So where was it? This was
Okay.
the one we did.
Go back to the HTML.
Okay. So this is
Are
this.
we actually? Yes. Okay, we are linking app.js, Abby.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's it. Let's go back to JavaScript.
Okay. JavaScript. This is the JavaScript. This is the app.js, the main place where we are calling it, right?
Are you in app.js
This is
now?
it. You say?
I'm just in the HTML. Maybe my network will disturb me.
So let's check the one we did before because There was one we experimented with before, and I believe it worked that day, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
So that day
So
we did not actually put these stuffs in a
okay,
file like
we
that.
do.
So the files,
Yeah.
putting them in a folder like this.
It's not okay. Somebody wants
But
to say
it's not
something.
an issue.
Yeah, I even
Yeah,
actually
exactly. No, go on. Don't worry, go on.
okay. I actually even wanted to ask this question before because me, I'm just joining. So, but I was looking at the screen since. So I noticed you were creating another folder for addition, subtraction, and that. Like,
Yes.
why is that?
You know, but why I did that is just so that like we'll be able to see that you can actually freestyle it based on how you want it to be. You understand?
Okay.
You can freestyle it. Yes, so that's why I did that. So if you look at this was the former one, and then for this particular one, right, we actually created utils, a folder, and then we placed calc inside utils. And inside all this calc is where we now have our addition, subtraction, multiplication, and all of that. Then outside of it, we now have our app.js, our index.html, and our okay, I think we still created this one. Is there any difference between the two? Okay, yes, this one was adding 3 and this one was adding 2. And then we experimented with the 2 here, all right? And we had like it was working. So looking at what I did here, I don't think it's anything different from what we have here, per se. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Sorry. Please, what are we trying to build? Is it not a calculator? Or what?
Yes, we are building a calculator, but this time around, it's more like the approach we are taking. We are using the approach of a module, right? Where we are working with multiple files.
Okay. Because
Yes.
to be candid, like the way you are doing it is totally different from the way I did my own. Totally
Okay,
different.
okay. Different. It mustn't be the same. You understand, but it mustn't be the same.
So
Oh,
please go back to
okay,
your HTML. Let me see something.
okay.
Just
So
look
this is
for
my
something.
HTML.
Okay, before that calculator, your source calculator.
Yes.
Okay, before the slash,
Yes.
you know, okay, in those other ones, we used to put dot slash.
Dot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be. So let's reload and see.
Ha. Voila.
Now,
Please go back to your HTML again, please.
okay.
It said that the function dot Gideon does not provide an export name default. So maybe we should
Okay.
check the
So
operation dot add.js.
okay. Sorry, I did not hear that properly.
I see that we should check the operation dot add slash add.js.
Okay. Okay. We should check it, right? So this
Yes,
is it.
there's an error it shows that it said that it did not provide an export default. I don't know why it's showing that error.
Exactly. Sure, you get. That's why me too. I'm surprised. Okay, let's even go back. Look at uncaught syntax error. The request. Oh, the requested module does not provide an export name default. Maybe it's because that was the only thing I am exporting from the file. So probably they expected me to export as default. Do you get? I think
Right.
that's what it. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's where the problem is. Low network is detected. You are not serious. The requested module does not. Okay, I think that's where the problem is because if you see this former code base we worked with, you see that we're actually exporting plenty things from the file. So that's why maybe we do not have that issue. So for this one, we are just exporting just one thing. So I think that's why we have to indicate default. This one too, it has to be default. And then this one too, it has to be default. All right. So I think now we should not have issues. Beautiful. Aha. So it's now working. Thank you. No be una man no small. So una just resolve the whole issue like this. Una try. Correct. So now we now have everything working. So this is the whole concept of modules, right? Where you can define. Now let's say, for instance, right? Let's say I have another file. Let's say I create another file outside of this calculator, right? Let's say I create it inside here. So let's just say calc. Let me just say calc.js. And then inside this calc, I want to do both an addition and a subtraction. What I just need to do is to import my addition. So import add from. Now, where am I importing add from? Of course, to get add, I need to first go inside my calculator. So I will come here and then I'll put dot slash. I need to enter inside calculator. Now, inside calculator, I need to enter inside operations slash operations. Now, inside operations, I want to use add. I need to now go inside add because that is where I can now get this my add from. Look at it, the name add. So now I'll come back here because I need add and subtraction. So from here, I also import subtraction the same way because this is where my file is. And for me to be able to access subtraction here, I need to first go inside this calculator. Then from this calculator, I'll go inside my operations. Then from this my operations, I'll now go inside subtract. So add, subtract. So now from here, I will call my add, right? Console.log the result, and also call my result 2, right? Call my subtract, and then console log it. Let me use 12 here, and here let me use 14, and then here let me use 10, and then let me use 8. Yes, like this. So let's see what we have. Let me refresh. And this is they show me 3. Okay, this is the main file here, right? So this is the main file. What I'm going to do you remember how we can export anything, even answer? So I will export these 2 answers. So I'm going to export this, and I'll also export this. So since I'm exporting these 2, remember I imported add and subtract from this add and subtract inside this calc file, and I've used it to get my answer for adding these 2 and subtracting these 2. Now I'm exporting the 2 of them, which is result 1 and result 2. Now what I want to do is to come back to this my main app, because this is the one that's linked to my HTML. I want to now call console of these 2 answers from here. So it means from here, I need to first of all import those 2 answers. So I'll say import. The import that I'm importing is result and result 2, right? And then where am I importing it from? Sorry, use this one. So where am I importing it from? I'm importing it from. Now look at where I am. Look at what I want to import. So it means for me to get anything from here, I have to go outside, because this one is inside of calculator, but what I want to import is outside of the calculator. So I have to go back 2 times. You understand? Now, if you remember, anytime I'm working with my terminal, let me zoom it, right? Let's say now, look at where I am. Let me do print work directory. Look at where I am. I'm inside Fitech JavaScript, inside modules. So if I want to go back into Fitech JavaScript, look at what I'm going to do. cd ... So print working directory. Look at what we have here. Look at it, means I've moved 1 step backward. Formerly I was inside modules and I used ... double dot. Now it has moved me backward once. Now I'm not inside the main tech JavaScript folder. So that's the same work of dot dot. So since here, to get anything from here, this one is inside calculator, but this one is outside of calculator. So I have to go outside of my calculator from this file. So that is where I need to now use dot dot and then slash. Once I do dot dot slash, anything outside of this calculator should not be available for me. So that's where I can now get this my calc. So I will now bring in my calc into it. Just like I said, you mustn't add JS. Whether you add .js or not, it will still work. So it's not like a by force to add that .js at the back. Just the name of the JS file and it's okay. So now what I want to do here, okay, of course, this one. So you remember what I was telling you, where I said you can use as to rename a variable, most especially if the variable you are importing has the same name of a variable that is already there. Now already we have a variable here already called result, and we are importing another result from here. And of course, both of them are not the same. So from here, importing this one, I can import it as another thing. I can say as result one. So why am I importing it as another name? I'm importing it, giving it another name because already there's a name already existing inside this place that has the same name as this. So that's why I'm renaming it. So here now, I can now come here and now say console.log result one and result two, right? So if we come back to this thing, or if we like say, where is it? Our this thing, our HTML. So if I like, I can add maybe I say should I use okay, another list. Let me say list. Not label this thing. So list, I say 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, we are expecting 3 answers. So I'll just give this one a class of results. Let me say R1. Give this one class of R2, and then give this one a class of R3. Yeah. So now from here, where's my main app.js? So here I'll just get all of them. So const dom. Okay, let me say dom1 document.query selector. Here I will have my .r1 because it's a class. So use dot for class. So const dom2 the same thing and dom3. So here now I want to write the results for each of them to the dom. So dom1.text, I have result 1, dom2, so result 2, and then dom3. So this one I have results, right? So this should be just result, the one coming from here, and then this should be result 2, and then the last one, this one should be result 1, and then for the last one we are going to have result 2. Result 2. So let's say result 1, and then result 2. So now let's go back to our calculator. Dot. Then what is happening here? This thing don't have to give us answer. Okay, not found. Subtract, multiply, divide, and then calc. What is happening? Did we change anything? Export default, export default, export default, and export default. So what's now the problem? What's now the problem here? Okay. Add and subtract. Added, have a result, exported it. Added, have a result, exported it. Here we imported it. What's wrong with this thing? Okay. But it's still connected now. Let me reconnect and see. See the same thing. Failed to load resources. The server responded with a status of 400 and what is this thing? Just misbehaving today. What will do like this? Hi. Let me fill this one in. So it's not supposed to be the cost. It's not supposed to be the cost. Calculator. App.js. Yes. And then the file type module. Or should I? But this stuff is not supposed to be the issue now. It's not supposed to be the issue. So what has happened again? These are the resources now. So why is it telling us that resource can't be found? Fail to load resources. Fail to load resources. Moving unpermitted.
Let's check our app.js.
Okay. So this is the app.js, right?
I don't know where the error might come, but this calc,
Yeah.
if I just close the thing, let's see if it will work. I don't know.
Okay, this calc, right?
I just close it. I don't know, but
Let's
it's not like
uncomment.
okay.
Let's uncomment it and see then. But with I'm surprised. I'm surprised that. So let this one go off, and this one too. Let it go off. All right. So let's see. What is wrong with this thing today?
This thing is multiply and multiply.
The thing is, the thing is surprising though. Honestly, it's surprising. Okay, let me cancel it and then open it again. Let me cancel. Let me do this. So okay, now. So index.html, right? And then go live. See the same thing. Live reload enabled. Okay, yes. Oh, that's serious. But Jetro, at least you understand how modules work,
This one
right?
is not even at least. I know how it like. I'm very okay with it. So consoling to the result showing on the console shouldn't be an issue, but I understand
An
how the
issue.
process. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So I don't know why the thing, if you see there's a post that will say it's not working on the server, say, but the guy will say, but it's working on my computer. So maybe today only, even on the computer, it's not working. Okay. So any other thing, since we have looked at module and then everybody is okay with it. So is there any other topic anybody wants us to touch? Aisha, Rufai, Obed, Jetro, maybe any other part? If you have an hour. Okay, less than an hour. Any other topic? So I asked you people to build a calculator, right? Have anybody ever attempted to do that?
I did. I submitted my own. I posted the
I've done
link.
my
Okay.
I've done my also, but I haven't submitted.
Okay, okay. So that's good. That's good. So
Now
were you
hear me,
able?
then catch me. Oh. But I will do it this night. I will try it this night. I'll watch.
Okay, okay. Please try it. What about you, Aisha? Okay.
No, please, sir, what did you say?
Okay, I said I think there was one time I asked you guys to build a calculator app. So I'm asking that were you able to do it?
I didn't, but I will try it.
Okay. All right. So please try it. You understand? Just like what
Okay,
I used to say.
okay.
Just like what I used to say is coding is not, if you're looking at it like calculator as a whole, you'll be like, hey, this thing go plenty. But then just be taking it one after another, one after another. Break it down into smaller steps. You'll find out that there's actually nothing there. All right. So any other topic? I think we have looked at JavaScript. We have looked at modules, classes, async await, arrays, array methods, objects, object methods, ES6, variables, functions, arrow functions. So among all these ones, is there anything you people want me to touch? Okay, somebody wanted to say something. The person now kept quiet. Hey, Rufai, talk your mind, do. You have to say something, say it to.
Please, sir, I know we don't have time, but can we
Okay,
go over the event handling form validation?
okay. All right. So let's see. Uh, event handling form validation. Oh no. Okay. I think this should be it. Okay. Beautiful. So let me just present it directly from here so that I will not have to download it first. Okay. So so should we look at the event handling part? Because I know that the one we did not do is the form validation. We did not do the form validation at all. So should we just go straight to the form validation, or we should start from here? Because I think that day we covered everything here on this event, advanced event handling.
I'm talking about the form validation. Sorry.
Okay, okay, beautiful. So now let's look at form validation. See, I almost forgot. All right, so form validation ensures that the data user. So I'm sure that when you're doing your HTML and CSS, you people looked at form validation. That's a situation where somebody cannot go and put a number where it's supposed to put a string, or put a string where it's supposed to put a number. So for instance, now you are telling somebody to enter his age. We don't expect the person to go and be entering maybe LMK, except in a situation where we are making use of Roman numeral. And that's when we can be expecting things like I, V, M, C, and the rest, because those are actually Roman numerals. But as far as we are concerned, we are expecting the person to give us Arabic numerals, which is normal 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rest. So form validation ensures that the data user submit is accurate, complete, and in the expected format. It prevents invalid or malicious data from entering your system and improves the user experience by guiding users to provide correct input. Now, importance of form validation. 1, improve data accuracy. Ensures only valid data is submitted, e.g. valid email format. Now, you'll find out that some websites, if you want to register or you're about registering for anything, if they ask you for email, you find out that once that @ symbol is not part of what you've just typed, and once that .com or .something or .org or .anything is not part of it, you see that it will always show you email is incorrect or email is invalid. So that is all part of form validation. Some, you might enter a password and they'll tell you that the password is weak. Some, they'll even go further to tell you that you need at least a letter, a capital letter, an uppercase, a lowercase, and a number. Some, they'll even add a symbol. So it means your password must contain a symbol, a number, an uppercase letter, and a lowercase letter. So all these ones are part of form validation. So next, it enhances users' experience. So it provides feedback so that you know what you are not doing correctly. You understand? Not that you enter email, it's not showing you that the email is incorrect, and yet you are seeing that the submit button is not there. So what this form validation helps you to do is that it will tell you what is wrong. Probably your password will tell you the password is too weak, so that you know that I need to make my password is that longer, or I need to have a mixture of numbers and letters. All right. So next is that it prevents security issues. Now there's what they call SQL injection or cross-site scripting. Now that SQL injection, right, is an injection is the way they do it is that they can use it to actually gain admin access. So I have a friend that has a website, all those data and recharge card websites. So I think his website, he did not upgrade it. Like, he has been using it for a long time and he refused to upgrade it. So there was one time somebody used the SQL injection and he lost over 20,000 naira, because what the guy did was immediately he used SQL injection to get admin access. He now started recharging his account. He started sending himself recharge card from the admin, because from the admin you can actually see the account of people, see how much they have actually loaded inside their wallet and all of that. So he started sending himself recharge card from each of these accounts. So like, it was so serious that my friend had to just shut down everything and resolve the issue before taking the site. So he incurred loss of almost 20,000 or so. So this SQL injection is something that shouldn't be joked with. So this form validation helps to prevent something like that, because by the time the malicious guy is trying to send an incorrect format through the form will reject it. It will not allow it to pass through. So next, it reduces server load. So imagine somebody sending, where you're supposed to send a number, is sending a long sentence. And so because there's no form validation, the thing went through. So you find out that it's going to cause issues for your server, because ordinarily what your server is expecting to process is a number. Now somebody is bringing in a sentence where a number is supposed to be processed. So definitely you are going to have issues with your server load time. So now, using JavaScript for form validation, right? So just like I said, normally your HTML have its own validation. I believe your tutor have talked about that. right? That's when you guys did HTML. You have done that. Where, okay, for instance, this one now, this is a form, your HTML form, all right? And then, of course, form, and then inside your form, you have all the other things. So form, and then form ID, login form, label for, this is for username, all right? And then input type, of course, input type is a text, because username should be a text, ID, username. And then we are putting a required. So this required simply means somebody cannot submit the form until he puts something here. So the same thing with password too. He can't submit the form until he put a password. And then here we now have a button, a submit button. All right. So now from what we have here, this one is just for us to be able to log in any error message due to this form. So let's look at how JavaScript is now able to improve on that form validation. Now, what we did here is to get our form as a whole. Look at it here. Look at it. The form has an ID of login form. So we got the form here using document.getElement by ID. You can use query selector. In this case, this one is an ID. You can use query selector and then use an ID, right? So dot add event listener. Remember our add event listener? Now, what event listener are we adding? We are adding submit. Because why? This is the action you're supposed to take. So it should listen for a click, and this button click now, the type now that this button will send, the signal this button is sending is a submit. So that's why we are listening for submit here. So of course, you remember your add event listener. It takes in action and then the function on what should happen. So now this function is taking in an event as input. Now it's now checking. Here now we are using it to get the username, dot value, dot value. All right. And then error message now. This particular one, we are getting this ID because this is where we want all our error message to be displayed. And we have already put it that the color should be red. So from here now, clear any, now this, what this one does is to clear any error message previously. So next, the first thing we are checking is the length of the username. Remember your string, string, you can check length of string. And we are checking that if the username is less than 3. So what this one simply means is that if the username is less than 3 letters, what it should display as an error message is that username must be at least 3 characters long. So that will not tell the person that's filling in the form that, okay, this your form, the username is too short. You should make it at least 3. At least means the list can be 3, but it can also be more. That's what at least means. So for that, you can see what is happening. It's now calling that event, and it's now we are supposed to do prevent default when we're dealing with I don't know if we treated prevent default. I don't know if we do that, right? We were talking about some event in JavaScript. They have a default behavior. Well, you can actually use prevent default to stop that default behavior. So that's what is happening here. So we are telling it that normally this form, you are supposed to be able to submit it. But now we are now saying if you check and see that username is not up to 3 characters, stop the form from submitting. By default, the form should be submitted. So by preventing the default for this event, this form event, it simply means the person should not be able to submit. Then we are now still checking for the password again, because what we have here, the 2 inputs we have is just username and password. So here we are now still checking for the password again. If the password is less than 6 characters, then it should give us an error message that password must be at least 6 characters. And then since password is not up to 6 characters, it should also prevent the person from submitting. All right. So I know this one is just story. So let's get into code and see what we have. So, but do you understand the average, on an average, the concept of form validation now? Okay, beautiful. So let's get to our code. I need to create a new file here. All right. Okay, for me, let me push all this code that I've done. Eh, this is serious. Kai, I forgot. I was supposed to pull. Hey, God, this guy. Beautiful. So, all right. So here I have my index.html, right? And then of course, here I'm going to name this one form validation, right? And then here I'm going to put form validation, and then I'm going to give it a form, and then this action, which action the form should perform from this sample here, this one we have here, right? The form does not even have an action here. Anyways, we can still give it an action, but we have ID, which is login form. So I just want to use what is here. So ID, then we give it form. So here now we have label for username, and then input. Yes, username, and then of course type text. We want it to include text. There are different types. Then ID, it should be username, of course, and then name, username. This one is for password. Let me separate them, or let me break them. Let me use the break, right? So right, this one is for password, of course. Then we have our button, which is submit. So this one now, input type submit, value submit. Let's change it to a button instead, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll give it button type submit, then I'll put submit. So this form now, right, this is what we have. It accepts username, it accepts password, and then we have our submit button. So next, let's now create our CSS. Of course, here let's load our this thing. What's the name? Let me load it before this. So script, load our script.js. So here I'm going to come and create a script.js. And then of course, okay, I was supposed to add something, which is what will be displaying our error message, right? Okay, they did it inside of the form. So I'm going to also bring it here. And then here, I'm going to give it an ID. Let me just say ID of error MFG, that's message. So let me give it a red color, just like what they did here. Or let me just use CSS for that. So let me impute CSS and then create CSS. So I'll have my styles.css. Now come here, style.css, right? And then what do I have? I need to target my, what are they calling it? Error message. So error MSG, and then this error MSG, I want to make it red. All right. Let me just use this style. So let's go live and see what we have at the moment. Sorry, I will not use sorry, I will not use, what are they calling it? Hey, I won't use CSS. That one you by yourself. So just like I say, by default, right? Look at our form. What it does is that it submits. You see it. So it submits. although we have not actually, why you see that it still remains here even after we press submit is that we did not like give it a particular place where it should submit the data to. So that's not our business. Our main business is form validation. So as it stands now, you see there's no validation here. No validation is taking place. So from the HTML part, we can actually do that, right, by bringing in what is known as required. In this our input type, yes, we'll bring in required. No, not read only, sorry. So required. So let's check. Now you can see because of the required we added, you see that there's no how formally it will just submit even if there's nothing there. But by putting required, it's telling me that I can't submit until I put in something. So username, let's say Bene, password, let's say Bene, and then submit. You can see it's now submitting. But if it's empty, look at it will not because of the required. So, but this one is not enough, right? And that's why we have to go down to JavaScript. So for JavaScript now, first of all, what we need to validate is our form. So we need to pick this our form. So now, of course, we have let's say, so how should we do it? Should we do everything at once or we should do it stage by stage? So how should we do it? Should we do everything at once just like what they did here? Or we should do it stage by stage? That we should first get the element, the DOM element of the form. After getting DOM element of the form, we should now come and add our event listener. So which one do you guys prefer?
You can just directly do it.
Okay, so if we are doing it directly now, we have, of course, remember we are dealing with DOM. So once you are dealing with the DOM, you have to start with your document. So document dot query, of course, I like using query selector. Now in this query selector, what we are selecting is this form, and the form has an ID called form. So here, I'm going to use an ID that's hash and then form, right? And then the form, we are adding an event listener, right? And what should the event listener listen to? It should listen to submit, because by default, a form, the action of a form is to submit. So we want it to listen to that action. And where's the action coming from? If we go back to our code, right, you see that the action is coming from here. Submit. All right, it's coming from the button because it's when we press the button that's why it will not activate this type, which is submit. So it should hey, what did I just do? Sorry. So let's go back to our script. Submit. Now remember, add event listener, right? You say it takes in two things, right? It takes in submit, that's the action, and next it takes in a function. Now we have done arrow function already, so we should call in the arrow function here, right? Now here, this one should take in an event, right? Now why are we bringing in this event? We are bringing this event because of we need to do it in such a way. You can see that this one as it is now, what we have here, if it's empty, if we press submit, it will not agree to submit. So we are bringing in this event because we want to, just like how this one by default, the HTML by default is stopping it from submitting. We also want to be able to stop it from submitting. And the only way we can stop it from submitting is by accessing this event and stopping the default behavior, because the default behavior of every form is being submitted. So that's why we have to bring in this event, because that is the only way we can actually assess that prevent behavior of this particular form. That's why we are bringing in this event. So the first thing we need to get is our username. Now, our username has an ID. The input, it has an ID of username, right? So we can now say const user name is equal to, we use query selector. Of course, is an ID. That's why we are having this dot value. So this dot value now, from here, look at it. It means anything you enter in this your input type, anything you are entering is coming in as a value, That is how form works. So to get the input of a form, you can access it through this value dot value. So now we are getting our form, and then we are accessing the value of the form, right? So let's check, just like I said, right? Me, I like to experiment. I like to experiment. So let's check if this what we just did now is working. So I want to our console.log the username. So let's see what we have. I'm going to open this console so that we'll be seeing, and then I'll click here. Okay, so let me say I put this and click. Okay, let me just put any random password so that it just allows us to pass. So is it working or not? I think I saw something before all these errors now came in. Did anybody see anything? Let me do it again. You guys should pay attention. Oh. Did you see anything flash very fast?
Yes, I will do it again.
Let me do it again. Just be paying attention. Oh. Be looking at here, this place in particular. Something flashed immediately. I don't know why this thing is five. Okay, let me do it again. The thing, okay, it's because of the thing is reloading, right? The thing is reloading. That's why we are not seeing it. So let me prevent the default, right? From here, let me prevent default. And after it, let me prevent default so that it will not be reloading once I press submit. All right. So where is this thing? So let me do it again. Now, did you see? So is it working or not? It's working. So just like I said, that's why you see the event, and this event, it wasn't the event, it could be anything. But just know that anything you are using here, if I should use E here, right? If I'm using E, let's say E here, or let's say I'm even using Rufai name, it means if this prevents default, I'm going to call it on Rufai. But just like I said, always make sure you use descriptive names that when people see it, they really know what you are trying to do or say. So you can see that this is our username is actually getting the value of it. So it means we can use the same thing for password. So for our password, we do the same thing. Document, of course, the ID of our password. It has an ID of password too. So I'm getting it using the ID. So document the query selector ID password. You can also console log to the password, right? Since it's not if here, we are actually securing the application in any way. So username, and then let me just put password. So you can see the username and then the password. So it means is working. All right. So we have gotten username, we have gotten password. That is what we really want to check, isn't it? So since that is what we really want to check, we'll now start checking that if you can use different kinds of check. It mustn't be, your check mustn't be limited. You can check for different things. You must not check for just a single thing. So now let's say we want to check for both empty. Want to check that if both username and password are empty, what should we do? So if username is empty, password is empty, we can now come and then remember we have this one that's supposed to be displaying error message for us, this P. So we need to first get it using our dump. Now, how do we get it? It has an ID of error MSG. So I'll come here and put const error MSG, or let me put it in full, error message, and then we'll document dot query selector. No, this is not the name I gave it, is error MSG. Right? So we have gotten this particular one. Now, what we want it to do is that if this is this, what it should do is that error message dot inner HTML. It should now tell us, now I don't want this. I want it to tell us that username and password cannot, username slash password cannot be empty. Now, why I use username slash password is because here I'm checking for username or password. So it means that the check will work if there's username but password is empty, it will do this. If there is no username but there's password, it will do this. If there's no both username and password, it will still do this. So now let's confirm what we have here. So let's go back to our form, and then let's say here there's nothing, and we press submit. Okay, this one by default is checking for this. So let's remove the required here, although we'll still put it back because it's necessary. But let's remove it here so that we'll see what our our checks. So you can see username or password cannot be empty. Why? Because then now let's say we have username but no password. If we do it, it's still the same thing. You'll see. Let me even refresh. Then let me username no password. You can see. Are you getting it? If let me refresh it. Now, if there is no username but there's password, it should do the same thing. Username or password cannot be empty. So, but just like I said, this required here. I've already done that for us. So I'll just bring it back. So it means we don't need to check for that again. But if you want to, you can still check for it if you want to. So, but we don't need to check for this. So now we want to check for username. We can now say if username dot length, right? If is less than, this time around, let's say less than 5, right? We can now say error message dot inner HTML, username must be at least 5 characters long. So this is for the username. And then for that, we'll call this one the prevent submission. We'll call it so as the person will not be able to submit the form. So let me take these ones out. So let's go back to our code and check. So let's say username, let's say I just enter Bene. Bene is 4. And then I just enter and then submit. You see, number 1, it will not submit. Number 2, it will give me the error. Username must be at least 5 characters long. So those in class this morning, I just want to talk about something. Do you remember when I was talking about HTTP and HTTPS, where I say if you are transferring something online, it has to be done through HTTPS. Now look at what we are having here. You can see that if someone can get a hold of this, the person will be able to know what our username is and what our password is. Let me okay. Let me see if I can increase my display. Right? Okay, sorry. So let me just see if I can quickly increase my display size so that we'll see you see what I'm saying. There's display. Display and monitor, exactly. So so that's serious. So have it increased? Me, I'm not seeing anything increasing here. So it's as if this increment is not working. So, but if you look at this one clearly, okay, let me copy it.
It increased now. It increased a little bit.
Oh, I never knew. So let me copy it and bring it inside here. Okay, it's increased though, but it was not increasing for the overall size. Imagine, it was not increasing for the overall size. So now look at what we have in our URL. So from what we have here in our URL, you should know that our username and password is exposed. So imagine we are moving this thing through just the normal HTTP. Of course, anybody that can have access to our username and password and go and log in our account.
But by the time we now include the HTTPS, which is the HTTPS secure, from your own end in the browser, see the server is going to secure it, will encrypt it. In that, even if somebody should see this one, it will not. The person will not know what your username is and also what your password is. So that was what I was trying to say about HTTP and HTTPS. All right. So let's go back to testing our application. So let's say username, we just have their name, and then password, just put random password. Now if we submit, the username must be at least 5 characters. All right. So if we go back here now, so we are done with that of username. And you can check for many things. It mustn't be only character. We can check that if username dot length is less than 5. We can also check else if user name dot includes what? If it includes, let's say, A, it should tell the person that error message. It should tell the person username cannot contain the letter A. All right. So if we come here and then let's say our username is up to 5, but you can see that inside all of this username, we are having A inside of it. So I'll put my password and then submit. It worked too. Hey, where this thing there? If user name dot include, is it dot includes or dot? Hope dot includes is correct.
Yeah, it's correct with an S.
Yes. Okay, yes, it's correct now. So why is it that this thing wants to now pour our hands? Eh? It's not supposed to work. So I'm surprised that it's working because look at A inside of it. And the small letter A we are using. So it's not supposed to work. I'm just surprised that you see it's working. This code now, wow. Hey, kai. All right. So so let's just take this one off. So you can check for different things. Now we can also check for password. All right. We can check for password. And then we can say if password, first of all, we can check for the length, just like this, and make sure the password is not less than 8 characters. And we can go further in our check to make sure our password contains a number, a letter, and a symbol. Now, if you want to do that manually, you are going to waste time because you have to take note of from capital letter A to capital letter Z, from small letter A to small letter Z, from all the symbols available. You know, symbols are plenty: slash, comma, full stop, asterisk, at, and all of dollar and all the rest. So, how do we now go about something like this? I don't know if you guys have heard of what are they calling it? Oh God, why did I forget this so soon? I've forgotten. Regex. So who have heard of regex before? REGEX. Regular expressions. That's what it simply means. So who have heard of regular expressions before? So regular expressions is more like you working with patterns. All right. So now I will not teach you that because it's not part of what I'm supposed to take you guys. But you can go and make research on your own and look at how you can actually make good use of regular expressions. All right. So there's a regular expression that will help you in such a way you check at a go whether your password, whether your email contains at and .com or .org or .co.uk or .edu.ng or .edu.uk or you can use regular expressions for that instead of you taking your time to be checking all manner of things. Because if you want to check for whether it contains a letter, a capital letter, a small letter, a symbol, and a number, you have to take note of from capital letter A to capital letter Z, from small letter A to small letter Z, from 0 to 9, and also all the symbols. So doing that, it will just take your time, it will waste your time. So the best thing to do in that case is just to take advantage of regular expression. So I'm going to put it inside this file, right? What did I just do here, sir? Wow, I don't go import with here, I'm not supposed to import. Okay, so I'll put it here, regex. So so regular expressions. So you can check how to use regular expressions to validate username, to validate password, to validate email, and so many others like that. So just make sure you go through it. Regular expressions for JavaScript in particular, because different languages have their own. But it's just that all of them are similar, but they have different approaches to regex. So take note of it. So here we are checking if the password, the length of the password, if it's less than 8, right? What it should do is that password must be at least 8 character long. And if the password is not is less than 8, it shouldn't submit. That's the role of this prevent default. Don't submit. So let's go back to our listing and test. So let's say here now, of course, we have this username and then password. Let's say I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not up to 8. So let's submit. So you see, password must be at least 8 characters long. So, but by the time I now add 7 and 8, of course, now it's up to 8. Submit. So you can see the form has submitted. So any question on form validation? Is there any question? So don't mind this our UI. This is our user interface. It's ugly. It's because we do not add CSS. Please, if you are doing your own, make sure you add CSS and make it beautiful. All right. So any question on form validation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please go on.
No, I mean, it's not a question. I just want
Okay.
to ask, is this the last time you will be having classes with us?
Unfortunately, yes, it's the last time.
Hey. I'm gonna miss your explanation.
Rufai, why you say hey?
Don't worry, Rufai.
Ah,
Don't worry. The next teacher you are going to have will even be better than me. It will shock you.
amen.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Now, so then tell us for secondary school, we no go say like that. But we pray.
So don't worry. The guy taking you guys React, the guy is good. He's good. So
wait, is it not that Yimbo guy?
yes, the Oyumbo guy, exactly.
Okay, I think during the onboarding, he just introduced himself and everything like that.
Yes, he introduced himself exactly. So you guys will get to like
And
him.
if you don't get problem, we will come meet you now. We'll go on and come meet you.
Wala.
That's,
No problem.
but we really appreciate you a lot. We really appreciate a lot. Seriously.
No problem.
You make things easier for us, I swear. Because your explanations, they enter, they teach us like primary 2 students.
So thank you. Una ma dey try, honestly. Anytime I see una, because sometimes I dey go through una assignment. That's why the fact no be me dey mark am. But anytime I go through your assignments, I'll be like, these guys, they are trying. So anytime I just see them, I say, Kai, I need to give these people the best. I need to give them the very best I can, honestly. So I'm happy that I met you guys, honestly.
I think we're happy too. We met you also. We're very, very happy.
Yeah. So,
Thank you
so
very
just like I
much.
say, I'm also
for president.
Yeah, exactly. Vice president. Yeah. So just like I always say, I'm part of the community. So anytime you have any issue, feel free. Let me drop my name, my username. So if you just check for this username, don't mind me. Rust one finish my life. So I could name myself the name of Rust. So anytime you see this name, I'm the one. Implement. Okay. I think is it this? Okay, no. But it's something like this, Sha. So implement 0x83n3 and then T. That's generic type. So anytime you see this username, just know that that's me on the group. All right. So in case you people have, just like I say, if you have any issue, you can come together, look for a suitable time, and then let me know. So if it's something, if it's like a particular time frame and chance, we can all just, even if it's just 30 minutes, 1 hour, and then just fire down. All right. I really want the best for you guys, honestly. I know it's not easy, but you guys deserve the best.
Thank you very much. Really
You people are
appreciate.
you people are the firstborn of the community. Hope you know.
Yes, so not true.
Now when I be firstborn of the community now.
Like,
Yeah.
on behalf of everyone, so we say a very big thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, I'm happy. For me, for Rufai to be happy for JavaScript like this, die, I'm happy. Yes. All right. So
The thing is just that
okay, continue.
I said the thing is just that I believe if there are tutors that can, I don't think anything is hard as long
Yeah,
as
nothing is
they are
hard.
as long as there are tutors that can just make it simpler for you. So that's
Yeah,
just it. And
you are right.
if you have this thing too, the
You are right.
mentee or if you have to do your own assignment also. So
Assignment.
and that's
You are
just
right.
it.
You are right. Very correct. Actually, there's nothing that is too hard. If you can have the right materials, right tutors, right mentors, right? Nothing is like really too hard. So Kai, I'm happy you. Aisha, Jethro, Obed, Rufai. It's so nice meeting you guys.
Boss, but you need to do one thing before we call it a wrap.
Okay.
Because I know that dev hours on Saturday,
Yes.
you promise
Yes.
that we would build something. So
You build
if it is
something.
possible, then we'll build something this Saturday so that it will be
Saturday.
fair for both.
Yes. Yes. You are. I think the dev hour is by 5, right?
Yes, it's by
Okay.
5.
Because that Saturday I have a wedding that I must not miss. If I miss that wedding, somebody no go give me food for house chop. So, but I will try and make sure I leave there as early as possible so that I can make up with the 5 o'clock. Understand?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You go
So,
invite us more come.
and no, I feel invite you now. All right. So, thank you, everybody. Make sure
Thank
you
you.
have a nice rest and also practice as much as you can. All right. All right. Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye-bye, sir.
All right. Bye.
Mm.